The first Greenville updated 2024 is here, spring has arrived, and the snow has melted. Along with the season change comes a new code to code inside, with that spring_24, which gives out $25,000 in-game cash. On the topic of some rewards, every time you log into the game on a new day, you'll be greeted with a new daily reward system where you can get something cool. It spins around all the 5 different options and eventually lands on one of them. In my case here, I get a 1.5x interactive job earnings boost for the next 15 minutes. This has been in the works for a while. I've seen this being worked on as long ago as 2021, and I'm sure it was planned long before that too. Cool feature to have in the game, glad it's finally here. Another great feature what I didn't see coming so soon are the additions to the paint shop. You can put in a hex code now, which is already awesome in itself, but there's also the new premium finishes you can put on paint. This is genuinely a game changer for paint. It's not even comparable to before. You can make some ridiculous colors now like volcano orange, something I've been wanting to do genuinely since my first GV video, where my only complaint was that the newly added 570 at the time's volcano orange wasn't good enough. Just look at the flake in this paint. It looks great. There's a wild amount of paint finish options as well. Here's the same car in the chrome finish, gloss, iridescent, matte, metallic normal big flake, metallic normal huge flake, metallic normal small flake, metallic shiny big flake, metallic shiny huge flake, metallic shiny small flake, satin, and stainless steel. With the new paint options out of the way, let me cover another huge addition to some existing vehicles. Folding mirrors, seemingly one of the most suggested vehicle-related things ever, has arrived. Unlike the paints, which can be applied to nearly all cars besides the public services vehicles and whatnot, folding mirrors are only for the new fictionalized vehicles, and only higher-end ones at that for realism. All you gotta do is go to the vehicle app on your GVOS phone and hold down the lock button, then the mirrors will fold in. This is definitely one of the benefits of having to start fictional vehicles. Since they're planning to and kinda have to redo every vehicle in game, they can keep vehicle features like this in mind from the beginning, opposed to tediously going through each individual of the 2,500 or so cars and separating the mirrors, which definitely wouldn't be ideal to do. One thing that works for every vehicle now, though, is remote start. By every vehicle, I mean every, by the way. For some reason, I can even remote start something like my 1965 GTO. No need to start your car when you hop in afterwards, of course. Such a nice feature to have. Something I'd really like to see now is being able to keep your car running after you hop out of it, at least if you have the auto start setting turned off. Moving away from vehicles for a second, this update has some building remodels as well. Main one being probably the most used shopping building in the whole game, Just Buy. This place is now significantly bigger, one of the biggest buildings in the whole game, and has a ton of stuff on display. You can get your phones in 3 different spots now. There's even more TVs than before, a new Nerd Squad part of the building, a new super cool looking storage part of the building, a new car accessories installation / garage part of the building, a new customer services part of the building, and a big chunk of the store dedicated to employees with a break room, manager's office, and stock room. There was so much detail put in this building that I didn't even notice at first. Amazing job by the builder of this. Moving on to something a bit smaller scale, the motel has been remodeled as well. I didn't even think this building needed a remodel, but it came out great with this new Visit 24/7 motel sign out front stating that it's newly renovated. Mostly. Some new shiny floors and countertops, and new textures everywhere like this wall, and these PBR tiles and rooms which look crazy. I definitely hope this building sees some more use now. Always been a little forgotten, just like the next updated building, the tax office. I think I've got inside of this place like maybe 3 times in the past. Still a pretty small building, but it has grown a bit, I think. Nothing too crazy in here, but it's still a nice place nonetheless. Moving on to miscellaneous stuff. One more building was updated, just not quite in the usual way. The Amazon/Sahara building. This place is now under construction. Interesting considering it was already there fully built before, but you know, it's just some insane renovations. New materials have been added around the map, such as the siding on houses, asphalt, and dirt roads, which can get your car dirty with a new texture. So much better looking than the old texture. It's something they've been trying to improve for a while without the paint glitching through the vehicles, and they did it. The garage UI has been updated a bit, and along with it, the off-sale, non-limited vehicles have their own tag and no longer take up garage space. This is incredible for me and probably tons of others, considering almost all my vehicles were off sale at this point. I've gone from being able to buy nothing new to having about 40 garage spaces open in just one update. I cannot complain one bit. Speaking of vehicles that don't take up garage space, the taxi driver job has a new fictionalized selection of job vehicles. Same goes for the Hunty's Pizza Palace job vehicles, minus the food truck. Slightly better condition than the old Hunty's job vehicles, no dents surprisingly. Spaces can now be put on license plates. There are 7 new license plate designs and 62 new plate frames. This stop sign has unfortunately fallen over at the entrance to the farms, and a few other small things were updated. Now it's time for the cars. Right off the bat, there's one limited vehicle in this update going off sale March 6th, the 2023 F-150 Shelby single cab for $155,000. Last update, we got the lifted 4x4 crew cab Shelby's limited, and this thing was made at the same time along with the non-limited lowered crew cab Shelby that's in this update too. We got these now instead of then though because they're rear-wheel drive and it would have been a handful to drive in the winter. I mean, even the four-wheel drive one had some issues with traction in the winter. It would have been fun with these things in the winter, but it makes sense why they were delayed. The crew cab one in this update has a top speed of 155 miles per hour, whereas the single cab limited has a 181 mile per hour top speed. Both have 800 horsepower though. One other difference is that both of the limiteds have straight pipe 5.0 sounds. And the non-limited just has normal 5.0 sounds. Plus the stripe colors and taillights are different. Getting into the normal vehicles, the oldest in this update are the Lamborghini Countaches. There's two different variations of this thing, the 1986 pre-facelift and the 1988 facelift. The pre-facelift was the original design they made for this thing, but it got a significant bit of hate when it was first spotted, so they revised it a little, and the result is what the 1988 version is. Decently subtle changes that made a nice difference, like the 3D headlights and new taillights. Then they just threw the original model in as a pre-facelift version for anyone who preferred it. Going down the list is the 1996 Oldsmobile Cutlass, which marks the return of beater trims on vehicles. The XA beater trim being the first we've gotten since all old beaters were taken off sale. Terrible paint, tons of scuffs, a dent, a missing mirror and taillights, a rusty exhaust, everything beater trims have always been. The general design of this thing is great as well, super Cutlass-like still, especially from the front. Moving on to my favorite car in this update, the 2005 Cadillac DeVille. I've been wanting a DTS in game for years, and now we finally got one, and it's great. It's one of the first GV fictional car sketches I saw when fictional started to happen, and I'd say it single-handedly made me grow a ton on the concept of it. This design combines elements of the last gen 2000 to 05 DeVille and the actual DTS from 06 and up. It turned out great. I truthfully think it looks better than any real DeVille / DTS. It sort of got the bland and rounded look of the older DeVille and some of the sharpness that the newer DeVilles had. Taillights out back, very reminiscent of the newer DTS. Headlight textures off a Tahoe, but shaped a little differently so it looks more aggressive, which I think works super well. And there's also this V8 Supernova badge on the back, the fictional version of a Northstar V8. If you want some different, more aggressive sounds out of a DTS, look no further than the supercharged DTS-V, or a DST-V. It comes with some nice smoked taillights too. Among those, there's more regular DTS trims to choose from, including soft top versions, and there's also a hearse and limo variant. Overall, just a great car. So well done, and I hope to see a lot of them. It's Ron Rivers approved too. He's got a soft top one with white walls out front of his dealer next to a Cutlass, rocking some really nice new Ron Rivers dealer plates. Continuing on, there's a fictional 2014 Volkswagen Passat and 06 Honda Pilot, which some people think is a Suzuki for some reason. It's got some cool door-mounted turn signals though. Then there's a 2016 Toyota Camry, which looks a little Avalon-like in the front and kind of reminds me of a Buick in the rear. Definitely not a bad design. It's for sure grown on me since I first saw it. The only thing is the headlights, the textures. I think 3D headlights could have done this car a bit more justice, which isn't something I usually say. Most cars are like better textured headlights, ironically. Then we're to this, a totally fictional 2020 Mitsubishi Eclipse. The Eclipse in an alternate reality where it wasn't a crossover now. I like this thing, but I'm especially excited for the new modernized Lancer that was designed by the same guy as this one. Definitely one of my favorite fictional designs I've ever seen. Another 2020, the K2XX Tahoe / Suburban's return. Just fictionalized. It isn't spot on to a real Tahoe design, but definitely still looks like one. Headlights that somewhat remind me of the GMT 900s, and taillights in a similar shape to the brand new ones. Overall though, it's still a Tahoe, no doubt about it. There's a bunch of trims, everything from the LT to the Z71, High Country, and even this Overland one. We were also given a heavy duty version. Some of them have the 6.2, some of them the Duramax, and some are modern quadra-steers. Not a real thing, but it's super cool to have it in GV. 3500 Suburbans of this generation do actually exist in real life though, just were only sold to the government. And in addition, there's a 650 horsepower Hennessy Tahoe along with the Sheriff and WSP variants. Another Lamborghini was added, pretty much as a complete surprise, the 2023 Urus. This thing was teased nowhere to my knowledge, it just kind of appeared. I never even saw a progress picture of this thing. Pretty much just a tweaked Urus design, nothing too crazy. BMW returns this update as well with a fictionalized i7 in 3 different variants. The design on these are already so wild, this is actually kind of tamed down a bit from the real one. I've seen a lot of people complaining with what they did to the grille and how it's too much like an Audi or something, but Thinking about it, it's kind of ironic considering how much people don't like the real grill either. Finally, the last car in this update is the 2024 Hyundai Elantra. Surprisingly enough, one of my favorite vehicles in this update. It just came out really nicely. I'd say better than the real design, at least the pre-facelift ones. I kind of see some Ioniq 6 inspiration in the rear bumper, and the front end looks more aggressive than the real Elantras. Taillights pretty much stayed the same for the most part too, so it's unmistakably an Elantra. I really like how the pops turned out for the end trims. I'm usually not the greatest at making pop sounds, but I think it turned out pretty good for how the pops work in GV. And that is the update. Switched it up and went through it a little quicker than usual. Hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely a ton of exciting stuff this time around. See ya.